Everybody knows about the 4% rule, but what if I told you if you had started with a 7% rate of withdrawal 10 years ago, you would have been just fine? In today's video, I'm going to break down on the whiteboard the 7% rule starting 10 years ago, and then I'm going to back it up 20 years ago to see how a $1 million portfolio held up. My hope is that this might change your frame of reference in terms of how you implement the 4% rule with your retirement spending plan. So just a little context with the 4% rule. All it means is the starting rate of withdrawal in year one of your retirement and what that percentage is as it relates to your portfolio. So if you start with the 4% rule, and let's say you have $1 million portfolio, the first year withdrawal would be $40,000. And each year thereafter, you would then adjust your withdrawal by the rate of inflation. So you completely throw out the percentage after year one. And the reason this became so popular was because Bill Bengen, who was a former rocket scientist, turned into a financial planner, basically back-tested all of the hypothetical rolling 30-year periods to figure out at what point did a rate of withdrawal actually fail. And what he found was 4% was the most conservative scenario. A retiree who retired in the fall of 1968, the portfolio still lasted 33 years despite going through two bear markets early on and hyperinflation in the 70s and 80s. What you may not realize is that the average retiree in his study experienced a 7% rate of withdrawal. So I talked a little about this on the podcast this past week. So if you missed that episode, go check that one out. And the question is, should the 4% rule actually be the 7% rule? So what I wanted to do in this whiteboard fireside chat is actually backtest over the last 10 years and 20 years to figure out what a 7% rate of withdrawal actually experienced in real life. So why don't we dive into the whiteboard? So the parameters on this one, and by the way, I used a tool called Portfolio Visualizer. So there is a free version, then there's also some paid versions. So literally what you can do is you can plug in your parameters. And so as you can see on the whiteboard, I started 10 years ago, and actually not quite 10 years. We're about 9.5 years in, starting in 2016. Okay, starting with a $1 million initial portfolio balance, and then again, thinking about the 7% rule in this case, that is the starting dollar amount at which we were going to withdraw from the portfolio year one in retirement. So as you can see, what we'll do is I'll underline $70,000 annually, but then the key is inflation adjusted. So whatever the rate of inflation is for that particular year, that's what you're going to adjust your withdrawal dollar amount that following year. Okay. And then, of course, some details, rebalancing on an annual basis and also reinvesting dividends. So just an important thing to note is that the 4% rule actually came from using a hypothetical asset allocation of 50% in the S&P 500 and 50% in intermediate treasury bonds. So in this case, what I did is actually plugged in some ticker symbols, exchange traded funds, SPY and AGG. Essentially, SPY tracks the S&P 500. So this is an accurate representation of what that 50-50 allocation looks like in Bill Bengen's famous 4% rule study. And then AG is essentially tracking the aggregate bond index, which is a mix of not only treasury bonds, but also corporate bonds. So this might be a little bit different than Bill Bengen's study because he just used, I believe, 10-year treasury bonds. But as you can see, what I did is I looked at the 50-50 allocation, 50% stocks, 50% bonds, but I also added another allocation here. And if you can't see that on the whiteboard, I added a 75% equity and 25% fixed income allocation. The reason I did this was because Bill Bengen, in his famous 4% rule study, advocated for a minimum equity exposure of 50%. Okay, now this might go against some of the rule of thumbs out there, which is own your age in bonds, or take 110 minus your age, and that's the allocation you should have in bonds. So if you're 60 and you're using the own your age in bonds method, you want to have 60% of your allocation in bonds. In this case, he recommended a minimum exposure of 50% in stocks, 50% in bonds, in order to not only protect against the downside, but also protect against inflation and longevity risk. However, he advocated for upwards as close as possible as you can stomach from a risk tolerance standpoint, as close as possible to 75% in equities and 25% fixed income. The reason is because 25% gives you enough downside protection to weather just about any bear market we've seen in history, but also gives you enough growth opportunity to hedge against inflation and longevity risk. And with retirees living longer and longer, especially the folks that we serve, This is very, very important. You don't want to get too conservative too early on in retirement. So why don't we first start with the 50-50 allocation, okay? So as you'll see, there's a lot of numbers on this page, but what you'll see is the starting balance starting in 2016 was $1 million. Okay, in January of 2016, and we went through, each month it illustrates the rate of return that particular month, and then it also illustrates the total rate of return at the end of the year. As you can see, in year one, 7.21%, and then inflation was 2.07%. So instead of taking out 70,000 that year, they actually took out $71,452. And as you can see, based on whatever the rate of inflation is, that is going to impact the amount of cash flow coming out of the portfolio year after year. And as you can see, there were a couple of down years. As you can see in year three, we had a down year of minus 2.11% with the 50-50 allocation. And then after 7 years in 2022, we had the big drawdown. I call this the triple bear market of 2022 because stocks, bonds, and cash were all at a negative rate of return that particular year. And that bear market lasted about 9 months until 2023, the markets began to recover. But as you can see, 2 downturns in basically a 9.5-year period, and inflation was fairly aggressive in those 2 years from 2021 to 2022. If you highlight these, we have a 7% inflation rate in 2021 and then a 6.45% inflation rate in 2022. So obviously, this is gonna significantly impact the portfolio in those particular years, because not only is the portfolio down in value by 15%, but also you're increasing your rate of withdrawal significantly in that particular year. But all in all, if you look at the portfolio after 10 years, it's held up quite nicely. We started with $1 million, and basically heading into August of 2025, obviously we need to adjust for cash flow coming out of the portfolio, but now we have a portfolio balance of about $1,080,000. Not too shabby after going through that triple bear market in 2022. Now, like I just mentioned at the beginning, he advocated a minimum of 50% equities exposure, but he wanted to get as close as possible up to 75% in the stock market. So let's flip to the next slide. And here I'm going to highlight the allocation we're using here is 75% equities, 25% in fixed income. And let's see what happened. So same thing, we started with the $70,000 need in terms of cash flow, and this was adjusted for inflation year after year. And I will say, it's a little bit, with the tool that I'm using, which is Portfolio Visualizer, it doesn't allow me to start with 70,000 in that year, we'll call it year 0 or year 1 in 2016. It actually adjusts the cash flow right away by 2.07%, which is the inflation rate that year. So I wasn't able to get it perfectly in terms of what his study actually illustrated, but I think we're pretty close here. But same thing, as you'll notice, 2 downturns in this 10-year span, 2018 and 2022. 2018 was a very short-lived downturn. This was during the first Trump presidency, which we had basically trade war escalations at the end of 2018, and the markets we actually went through we almost hit a bear market territory in the fourth quarter of 2018, I should say. But 2022, also that downturn impacted the 75-25 portfolio, and that portfolio went down close to about 17% in 2022. But what you'll notice here, that yes, we went through those downturns and the portfolio dropped in year 3, and then the portfolio dropped again from year 6 to year 7. But overall, because of that equity exposure up to 75%, this allowed the portfolio to really significantly participate when the markets did recover. So after 9.5 years, sitting here in August of 2025, we started with a $1 million portfolio, but now the portfolio value is about $1,578,000, significantly more than what we started with. Basically 50% more than what we just started with, despite taking out $70,000 a year adjusted for inflation each and every year. So again, this is why Bill Bengen advocated for that stock allocation, because not only does it give you enough downside protection, 25% of $1 million gives you $250,000 in bonds, okay, which is basically a little under 4 years of cash flow needs in bonds, which is great. 2008, 2009, that took about 4 years for the markets to fully recover. So if we went through a downturn like 2008, 2009, you have almost 4 years of your cash flow needs in bonds where you don't have to sell stocks in a downturn. Very important there. And this makes sense. If we look at the total rates of return for both the 50/50 allocation and the 25 allocation, if you look at the annualized rate, we're looking at 8.2% for the 50/50 portfolio and about 11.35% annualized for the 75/25 portfolio. So this makes a lot of sense given the fact that we started with a 7% rate of withdrawal. Adjusted for that inflation, both portfolios exceeded that initial starting balance of $1 million despite taking out those cash flows. Now, I will say the 50/50 allocation is probably going to dip below that $1 million mark this year because they're going to be taking out over $90,000 out of the portfolio, depending on what the markets do at the end of 2025. But the 75/25 portfolio did significantly well. In fact, they actually increased their portfolio value by about 50% above what that starting balance was, despite taking out those cash flows on an annual basis. This just shows you the timing of when you retire is a big deal. And obviously the markets, how they impact your portfolios and how you're invested relative to the markets is a big deal as well. But the challenge is no one has a crystal ball. We don't know what type of markets you're going to retire into. So that's why what I wanted to do is actually go back 20 years. So this next case, same scenario, same parameters. We're starting with $1 million. We want to start with the $70,000 annual adjusted for inflation withdrawal dollar amount. We're going to rebalance on an annual basis and reinvest dividends. And let's say we started this analysis in January 1 of 2006. So as you can see on this one, I'm going to highlight two numbers on this page. The first number I want to highlight is 2008. The rate of return that year was minus 14.5%. If you think back to 2008, it was absolute mayhem. That was actually the year I got into financial advising. Really good time to start in my career. But at the end of the day, the markets were tanking that year because of the global financial crisis. The federal government was bailing out insurance companies, banks were failing. I mean, Lehman Brothers collapsed. I mean, the whole world was falling apart. The portfolio as a 50/50 allocation actually only went down 14.5%. Despite the S&P 500 that year being down about 37%. So this is the benefit of having that downside protection. However, 15% while you're drawing down your portfolio with $74,000 that year, that led to a significant drop in portfolio value in that early year, in that early phase of retirement. You think about this concept called sequence of returns risk. And oftentimes the reference there is that first 2 years of retirement. If you go into a bear market or a downturn, that's bad news. That's not a great time to retire, but no one has a crystal ball. And in this case, it actually happened in year 3. If you remember the 10-year study that we looked at, it happened in year 3 as well, but it was only about a 2% drop with a 50/50 allocation. In this case, we're down 14.5%. Probably one of the worst case scenarios you can see for a 50/50 asset allocation. And so it resulted in a significant downturn in the portfolio value after that third year. So we started with $1 million. Now we're down to about $791,000. And yes, the portfolio recovered a little bit, but if you look out to 2015, the portfolio value is $758,000, well below, nearly 25% below that starting portfolio balance in year 1 in retirement. This could definitely be a little unnerving for retirees to look at because no one has a crystal ball. No one knows what kind of markets they're going to retire into. And if they do retire into a downturn, it could be bad news if you start with a little bit of a higher rate of withdrawal than that suggested 4% rule. And then if we fast forward 20 years, now we're looking at the portfolio value depleted because again, we had another blip in the radar, significant blip in the radar of 15.6% during that triple bear market in 2022. And now the portfolio value, while it had recovered a little bit, now it dropped significantly, even below this $500,000 mark. And then at the end of 20 years, now we're sitting on a portfolio value of $355,000. If someone retired at 60 and now they're 80, that could be a concern because what if they live another 10, 15 years? What if they have a long-term care need? What if they have a spouse who maybe has a longer life expectancy? Maybe their spouse is younger, or maybe they want to leave a large legacy to their children. This is a concerning scenario to look at because of those two significant downturns for a 50/50 allocation, both in 2008 and in 2022. Let's look at the 75/25 allocation. So here, now we had a bigger drawdown in year 3. Instead of 15% down, now we're about 25% down because of the higher allocation towards the stock market. So here, same thing, the portfolio held up pretty well that first couple of years, and then a significant drop because of the 25% drawdown in the portfolio, and you're drawing $74,000 from your account balance. Yes, it took a little while, but it did recover a little bit. But after 10 years, if you look at 2015, the portfolio value is very similar to the 50-50 allocation, about $777,000. And it actually held up pretty well throughout the next 10 years. Okay, yes, we went through that 2022 triple bear, and the portfolio dropped from 880 that previous year to 626 during that triple bear, but the market recovered decently, and now we're sitting on about $708,000 after 20 years compared to $355,000 in that 50-50 allocation. So again, in this scenario, as well as the first scenario, 10 and 20-year period, if you start with that 7% rate of withdrawal, the 75-25 allocation played out much better than the 50-50 allocation that was in Bill Bengen's initial Trinity study for that 4% rule. And what's interesting on this one, if you look at the averages, just like we did previously, the 50-50 averages here and the 75-25 averages here, I'm going to extract this, make it a little bigger. The 50-50 allocation experienced a 7.26% annualized rate of return. The 75-25 allocation experienced an annualized rate of return of 9.09% per year. So both cases, they were above that 7% target rate of withdrawal in terms of average annual rate of withdrawal. This is why sequence of return risk is so legitimate, because it's not about the averages, it's about the timing of when you hit those bumps in the road. And if they happen early on in retirement, it can be very difficult to recover from. But like I always say, no one has a crystal ball. So if you retired in a decade like 2016 to 2025, you were in decent shape in both scenarios, both with the 50-50 allocation and the 75-25 allocation. But if we kind of look back 20 years ago, when we went through one of the worst markets we've seen in our lifetime, arguably since the Great Depression, then we're in not great shape in both scenarios. So again, that sequence of returns risk plays a big factor in terms of how you start your rate of withdrawal and how you adjust that rate of withdrawal over time through the ups and downs of the markets. So certainly you could start with a 4% starting rate of withdrawal to err on the side of being conservative. However, it might lead you to significantly underspending in your go-go years of retirement or throughout your retirement, and ultimately leaving a large legacy, which may not be important to you. On the flip side, you could start with a 7% rate of withdrawal, or maybe even a little bit higher or close to 7%. And maybe it works out for a period of time. Maybe you retire into some good years in the stock market. However, if you go through some bumps in the road, how is that going to impact the longevity of your portfolio? That's the question that nobody has an answer for. But I'd love to hear from you. What kind of rate of withdrawal are you going to target in your first year in retirement? In next week's video, I'm going to talk about some ways and strategies that we can actually reduce that sequence of return risk so you can feel confident regardless if you start with a 4% rate of withdrawal or even a 7% rate of withdrawal. So make sure to subscribe to our channel and check out that video next Thursday. And finally, if you're looking for help on how to maximize your retirement spending, minimize your lifetime tax bill, and worry less about money, we would love to help you. You can start with visiting our website at www.imaginefinancialsecurity.com, or you can start with the retirement readiness questionnaire that is linked in the description. We'd love to hear from you and see how we can help you plan for and execute a successful retirement. Until next week, this is Kevin Lau signing off.